Good morning, everyone. All right, that was good, but it wasn't as busy and enthusiastic as it was a moment ago. Good morning, everyone. Oh, I love it. There's a lot of energy in the room, and that's a good thing. Maybe because it's not raining for a change, or it's not 100 degrees. All right, so welcome to the 2025 SUNY New Paltz State of the University Address, Living Our Future Together. That theme is one that we're going to repeat throughout the year as we engage on a number of activities, and it's one that's going to drive our strategic initiative. It's a pleasure to be here and to greet you at the beginning of the 2025-26 academic year. A very special greeting to our faculty, shout out to our faculty who are here, our staff, our community members, our alumni, members of the College Council, members of the SUNY New Paltz Foundation Board of Directors, and other friends of SUNY New Paltz. Special greetings to our guests from the IBIS group, more about the significance of them and their being here today in a little bit. As I prepared several iterations over the past many weeks for today's remark, I gave thought to why do I do a State of the University address, and why is it such a part of the academic cycle? It's more than just a checklist of obligatory events in the year. It's a moment to reaffirm our understanding and commitment to our common purpose, our commitment to the transformative power of higher education and the unique ways in which public, comprehensive higher ed institutions can and do serve their local communities, their local regions, and the national agenda. Optimistically, it is an opportunity for the deliverer of the message to inspire intellectual, emotional, and spiritual curiosity and engagement as we start a new academic year. In this case, SUNY New Paltz is a way of reminding us that we ourselves have work to do to bring forward the best of humanity in service to the common good and well-being of all humankind. For me, it is an opportunity to lean into the difficult and awkward moments associated with going beyond a state of grievance with what is wrong in the world into a state of being an active agent of change and growth and sustainability and well-being for all. It is an opportunity to reflect on the profound roles we share in creating this active living and learning space, which advances opportunities for each of us to support the institutional mission of being a space for learning, guided by skills and talents, professional knowledge, and working in collaboration with those who strive each day to better our physical and contextual environments. As we walk into this new academic year of not fully knowing what is ahead, let us double down on our own awareness that the actions we take today are the foundations for tomorrow and will soon be the historical markers of where we dared to venture for the future generations. Those who work with me on a regular basis will know that I like to go to the end of the story first. So it's important to understand, I see heads nodding. So I won't deviate from that right now, and today is no exception. In my time today, I'd like to highlight some of the many achievements from the past academic year, speak to some of the opportunities and challenges I see in the coming year, and identify steps that will be taken to prepare us to leverage the opportunities and to be responsive to the challenges. Highlights of the past academic year. Let me begin with student affairs. Student affairs this week is in the process of welcoming 3,000 residential students to campus. More than 1,000, yeah. More than 1,000 of those are new students, and I got an opportunity to meet many of them yesterday, and it was a joy. Residence Life has had some exciting upgrades to their housing stock. Mohonk Hall, which was renovated this past year, including an additional floor of rooms, has reopened and will be celebrating a ribbon cutting later this fall. Additionally, we have Bliss Hall, thank goodness it came in under the wire, construction completed. I see Kathleen just, right, you're good Catholic side, no. With a new state-of-the-art set of bathrooms, added safety measures, and new furniture. The Student Union building also went through some major renovations with a completely renovated third floor, and our some people are really excited about that, I love it, and our newly transformed ballroom, both of which will also be celebrated at a ribbon cutting this fall. If you haven't seen the ballroom, it's spectacular. If you only remember it from before we closed it, I hope that you'll be pleasantly surprised when you see it. I think we need the before and after photos. Many of the departments in the Division of Student Affairs continue to have robust schedules and opportunities for engagement and connection outside of the classroom. This starts with their Welcome Week festivities, which kicked off yesterday, and will continue through our convocation ceremony on Wednesday, August 27th. I and they hope that you will join them there today, on the 27th. Athletics, wellness, and recreation is off to a strong start with its fall sports. And as we enter our final season with the SUNYAC and ready ourselves for transition to the New Jersey Athletic Conference, see, I still stuttered saying New Jersey, in the fall of 26. Now, I'm looking forward to NJAC participation. They've been great. Please get out this semester, this fall, this spring to support our teams and our student athletes. Our Career Resource Center has been listed on the Colleges of Distinction, Best Colleges with Outstanding Career Services in 2025. And the Career Resource Center has a robust programming year on store to support students as they pursue internship opportunities. They've started their inaugural Professional Edge Career Closet, which provides all students with the opportunity to receive free professional attire for interviewing so they can present their best selves as they enter the internship and job market. The DRC, or Disability Resource Center, is increasingly becoming a significant tool in our recruitment and retention apparatus. Just yesterday, more than one parent told me on move-in day that they selected SUNY New Paltz because it offered one, if not the best option for their students' path to success. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the outstanding work of our SUNY University Police Department. The colleagues in this area serve with professionalism and enthusiasm the unique and diverse needs associated with campus safety, security, and planning. I ask that the members of the Student Affairs team just wave your hand and so that we can acknowledge you and say thank you. Moving over to communications and marketing, we see the influence and power of our remarkable communications and marketing team everywhere. From the newly refreshed, I'm looking at it, I think you are too, newly refreshed and dynamic landing space to the incredible, yes, okay, to the incredible work they've done to advance our presence on platforms globally. The work of this team to capture and articulate the significance of SUNY New Paltz is a key driver in our increased reach to potential applicants, to employers, to funders, donors, alumni, and community members. In a crowded and noisy higher ed environment, we have to leverage the abilities to stand out, and the OCM team does an outstanding job each and every day. I ask that team to acknowledge themselves in the audience so we can say thank you. Enrollment management and admissions. Enough said. Student recruitment, enrollment, retention, and persistence are essential to the mission of the university. This process of cultivating applicants and moving them along a funnel to yield a registered student is not an automatic process. The enrollment management team is in active mode year-round. This team is also central to managing, monitoring student progress, and certifying their attainment of credentials prior to graduation. Their work drives what is arguably the lifeblood of our institution, our students. Our enrollment trends have begun to stabilize post the COVID pandemic period. However, we're still working to meet or exceed the historic high of approximately 8,100 students set in 2016. There we are. This way. Our retention efforts are notable as SUNY New Paltz significantly outpaces national averages with a first-year retention rate well above 80%. I believe the national average is in the 60s to 70s at best. So we significantly outpace. And we continue to work on ways of improving retention for all groups of students, with particular emphasis on economically underserved groups and graduate students. Our applicant numbers tell a compelling and complex story, where SUNY New Paltz has a robust applicant pool of more than 21,000 applicants in the current recruitment cycle. The story entails detailed and nuanced understanding of the applicant pool, peer and competitor institutions, the ability to anticipate trends and needs of applicants, and the ability to make the case to our applicants and their families that SUNY New Paltz is a place where they will do more than survive. They will thrive as a student and a future alum. Our current goal is to return to an annual enrollment of 8,000 students through enhanced enrollment and retention efforts. We are now in our second year of piloting an academic consideration cohort, where we bring in students who miss the academic admission current benchmark of 85% GPA, but are not below 83%. In the year 24-25, just a year ago, we entered 39 students with a better than 90% retention of those students in that cohort. We've already accepted 66 students into this year's cohort, our second year, and are looking at an 80% GPA threshold for future cohorts given the success and scalability of this program. And off script a little bit, because I've been working with Stella and her team and understand this a bit, in that academic cohort, when we develop services anticipating that those students might need additional supports, what we found is they needed no more supports on average than the general population of students, and their retention exceeded that of the general population. It is clear that giving access means giving access. And if given the chance, the students we attract will outperform the expectations. I'll go along with that. We will continue to work on enrollment and retention efforts using diverse and evidence-informed practices. Our enrollment pilot programs also include ACE at New Paltz, ASAP to ACE, and Summer Honors Institute. I now ask the enrollment management and admissions team to acknowledge yourselves so that we can thank you. Administration and finance. Being one of the largest divisions, along with student affairs and academic affairs in the university, administration and finance covers a lot of territory, figuratively and literally. This unit currently encompasses our finance, budget, payroll, controller, facilities, design and construction, maintenance, operation, IT, sustainability, auxiliary services, and the child care center. This division assures operational continuity 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There is somebody from that division on this campus every hour of the day. The work of this division keeps the lights on and the engines running, so to speak. And even with their best efforts and support, especially in the past 2 years cycle from the governor and legislative bodies, financing the largest employer in Ulster County, SUNY New Paltz, remains a daunting challenge. We have an obligation to attend to fiscal responsibility. And if you read the August statement we put out shortly before the beginning of the year, this will not be unfamiliar to you. And if you listen to the annual budget forum reports, come in October for our next one, October, November, SUNY New Paltz, not unlike many SUNY campuses and institutions across the country, has seen widening in the gap between its actual revenues and expenses since 2016-17. The gap has been noted by SUNY administration, and most notably in 2024, as I reported last year, with the required presentation amongst all campuses for a sustainability plan if they were not already at a balanced budget. As we move forward to actualizing the goal of a balanced budget by the year 28-29, we must acknowledge that fixed revenues against growing expenses are not conducive to building a robust model to success. Key to our future is optimizing our revenue growth, which most notably is in the area of tuition dollars and increased enrollments and retention. Seconded by controlling expenditures and setting strict controls to monitor this process. In addition, we must always stay prepared to leverage new, non-tuition-based revenue opportunities that are consistent with our institutional mission. In 24-25 academic year, we were preparing a plan as noted in the prior section, and now we're activating that plan to increase our enrollment by approximately 100 students annually through increased retention and recruitment efforts. We are also instituting a 90-day hiring review process with a 3-step review by vice presidents on all requested positions, with supporting documentation provided to the president before positions are released. A similar process was actually developed in 2019-20, but was not implemented fully. We will implement this plan, and we will reach our goal. I am convinced that we have what it takes. I was on a phone call with this is off script. I'm telling my colleagues so they're not looking for it. I was with SUNY president colleagues yesterday, many of whom have exhausted their reserves. We have not. We have a few years of reserves left that we will be just comfortable with, but we don't want to wait until we're in that position to activate the controls that will turn this, P-Funk said, turn this mother around. We're now moving forward. We're now moving forward to implementing these newer processes with the appropriate controls and financial benchmarks that will allow us to meet and potentially exceed the 28-29 balanced budget goals. Later this fall, during the annual budget presentation, we will describe more details related to this plan, its implementation, and its evaluation. Off script again, let me be very clear. We have reserves. We end the year with a zero debt. We have not had to go to system, and we can do that for a while, but only a while. Letting things go the way they are under my watch is not going to happen, because the future will look back at every action we take and hold all of us accountable for the state of this university. If I turn to facilities and operations, a bit on construction updates for the 3 major projects that we've talked about all last year. Well, this is New York State, and we are SUNY. The 3 projects were Peregrine Dining Hall, Elton Gym, and College Shangle Hall. All of these have been in various stages of planning and design and discussed with the community throughout the year. Unfortunately, as sometimes happens in cases of state budgets, the finance was not included in the most recent budget. Therefore, we have to wait until these funds are in place before we can proceed with these projects. I remain optimistic that these will start relatively soon, but you never know, and we continue to work with SUNY, state elected officials, and with the construction fund to make sure that we continue to advocate for the needed resources for these important infrastructure advances. We will definitely keep the community posted on these. With all that said, I want to thank and ask the members of the administration and finance group to please acknowledge yourselves so we can thank you. Human resources, diversity, and inclusion. Note that I said diversity and inclusion out loud. I can do that because I'm a president of a SUNY institution in the state of New York. It is important for us to keep in mind that no matter how bad it seems, there are folks in much worse shape. Every day we read about controls. Yesterday or the day before, so many meetings over the summer, the chair of the board reaffirmed the commitment never to throw, and as she said, minus us doing something illegal, a president under the bus for adhering to these principles. These are the values from the chancellor and from our board that commit to our unwavering access to higher ed and our valuable commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. SUNY New Paltz is an engaged and vibrant community of students, faculty, and staff. The historical zeitgeist of the institution elevates the commitment to social justice and diversity. Certainly, going back to the civil rights initiatives of faculty and students in the 1960s, SUNY New Paltz has manifested a strong presence in the SUNY comprehensive sector as a campus of activism. Our Office of Human Resources, Diversity, and Inclusion definitely sees its share of work on compliance, cultural, social, and interpersonal programming, training, and intervention work and practices. Over the past 3 years, matters relating to Title IX, Title VI, anti-Semitism, LGBTQI+, Islamophobia, and other related topics have taken center stage among the content and compliance offerings and services from this unit. The team works extensively with all campus units to assure timely and responsive access to resources and interventions to support optimal working conditions that are supportive of our academic goals. It is a fact that the division has compliance considerations that often seem antithetical to institutional success. But in fact, if we are out of compliance with many of these, the risk and vulnerabilities to this institution would be monumental, if not catastrophic. It takes a very particular fortitude and grace to serve in the roles that they serve. And I, for one, am exceedingly honored to work with this team daily as they diligently keep us on track to institutional compliance and success. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the HRDI team who's in the audience. What may be considered first in thinking about higher ed academic affairs. Last academic year, we welcomed 37 new members to our faculty, 30 who were new to New Paltz, and 7 who continued at New Paltz in new titles. This year, we welcomed 19 new faculty, and this included those continuing in their roles. This was out of 24 searches. Again, what I said about other presidents and other campuses, the fact that we can bring on that many new faculty speaks to the resources and the strategic use of these resources as part of our commitment to the educational component of our institution. We welcome these individuals because our students benefit richly from the close working relationships with their faculty in mentored and community-linked research, creative, and scholarly projects. Where's Keely? Keely Hoare? When I talk about engaged and linked research, you know I'm thinking about you. That convivium was off the hook. It's dangerous to call out one person, but I got a thing yesterday, a magnet for the wall with the pictures, so I was thinking about, just shouting out to you. In 24-25, we fully transitioned the academic advising unit to the Office of Academic Affairs from enrollment management to support stronger alignment with academic programming and student success. Our career services and veteran military services programs are also robust, and OVMS, although they're not in that unit, was fully recently reaccredited, and congratulations on that. Our honors program, EOP, and scholars mentoring program, as well as AC Square, bring rich scholarly programming to our students, enhancing their access to best practice services, engaged faculty and staff, and new colleagues. Taken from the mission statement of the Science of Reading Center mission, the Science of Reading Center at SUNY New Paltz, established by a grant from the IBIS Group, provides a hub for educators across K-12 higher education with a shared mission of improving literacy outcomes for children in New York State and throughout the U.S. The center's primary work is promoting research-based knowledge and practices that are proven to help learners gain skills as readers. The Science of Reading has in its short history actually it's only 2 years because it took us a year to get up and running, and that came with a lot of screaming and hollering, and that was me in that short period. But they have already in 2 years enrolled 21,300 educators across the country in the micro-credential training. They've had significant impact in New York, Maryland, and we're going to Yonkers, one of the 5th largest districts, and we're looking at other states. Having this significant and nationally prominent academic programming at SUNY New Paltz is a game changer for us, not only because of the $7 million+ invested by the IBIS Group, but because of its potential to change the landscape and trajectory for millions of students, families, and communities across the nation. I want to personally thank the IBIS Group, and specifically Chi Kim and Jason Griffiths, who are here with us today, for their faith in me and in SUNY New Paltz. Sustainability in academic programs. In the summer of '24, SUNY New Paltz received national press coverage for its commitment to integrating sustainability and climate action across the curriculum. Since 2022, 60 courses have been approved as sustainability-focused or sustainability-related throughout the Sustainability Course Designation Program. In the spring of '24, the Sustainability Committee formed an ad hoc committee on sustainability education to create curricular pathways and proposals for sustainability education, including but not limited to the sustainability majors, minors, and micro-credentials. The ad hoc committee shared 2 alternative approaches for sustainability minor with the provost in June of '25. SUNY New Paltz is presently offering its first ever 200-level Intro to Sustainability course this fall, following the success of the Honors Program 300-level Intro to Sustainability seminar first offered in 2021. Congratulations. Where's Lisa? There you are. In summary, SUNY New Paltz is without a doubt a top-notch, vibrant, and unique collective space where it values collegiate inspiration, challenges, and provides many resources to students, faculty, and staff. If you're a member of the Academic Affairs Division, faculty, administration, deans, please let us acknowledge you. Raise your hand so we can see you and thank you for your work. Our Office of Development and Alumni Affairs offers many opportunities to support our student success through solicitation and management of a portfolio of endowments at $50 million plus and oversight of annual scholarship funding to a diverse student group. The value of student scholarships awarded has increased from $276,000 in fiscal year 14 to more than $1.1 million awarded in fiscal year 2025. These donors supported scholarships created to provide opportunities for enriching learning experience that would not have been available to students otherwise. In many cases, through programs like the Student Crisis Fund, these awards have made the difference in students' ability to successfully complete their degrees. And we're honored to have members of the Foundation Board. Please raise your hand if you're a member of the Foundation Board. Wonderful. Thank you. You know, if we tell the story of the division by numbers, we presently count more than 88,768. Eric, I got the number right. It may have grown since last week. Living alumni. Our campaign milestones, we're in a silent phase of our comprehensive campaign, includes the gift I mentioned from the IBIS group, which comes in at $7.4 million. We've had our first last year, gifts from a living donor. Usually you have to be feet first to provide the $1 million. We received the institution's first gift, and it was followed by a second gift of $1 million or more from a living donor. And one of those gifts from the McShane family went especially to EOP, to advance, yeah. Our robust engagements have gifts coming in at the $500,000 to $900,000. You know, it goes on and on, but the idea here is to emphasize to this audience who does the work every day, whether you're on the grounds, maintenance, facilities, or your most distinguished faculty member, you do the work and people invest in the work that you do. That when donors, when alumni look back and are making decisions on where to place their resources, they look to what performance indicators are there. Are students happy? Are students safe? Are students graduating? Are students getting jobs? Those are the things they're looking for. Are the faculty engaged in meaningful scholarship? You're doing it, and these numbers help to support that case. These external indicators tell only a portion of the story of our development and alumni relation team's work. This group of talented professionals serves in a myriad of roles related to the development and supporting of our alumni base, bringing outstanding content experts to campus for guest lectures and presentations. I ask members of the development and alumni relations teams to raise your hands so that we can acknowledge and thank you for your great service. I wanted to spend time doing that, going across the divisions to highlight that there is no one spot that is doing the work that makes this campus go. And I get the pleasure of working with the vice presidents because as the president, my job is not to do any of that work that they do, but to rely on their brilliance, their fortitude, and sometimes their sweat equity to move us forward, to inform me so that my decisions are grounded in the best information for our campus possible. So, having done that, I'm now looking forward in this presentation, articulating the current state of academic affairs as an enterprise, meaning writ large, not just for SUNY New Paltz, is a daunting task in these days. If you've been asleep for the past 8 months to 12 months, then you might be shocked at the state of policy related to education and the fiscal constraints that ensue beyond. Our mission and our values articulations to diverse audiences require that we face head-on the headwinds in making the value proposition for college as a degree option. I said 3 years ago, this is my fourth year, started my fourth year, 3 years ago when I was here, I talked about the value proposition of higher ed and how we were facing a very strong opposition in the world about the value of going to college. If you've paid attention to the news recently, you know that's true. But we had 21,000 applicants. We brought in 1,000 new students yesterday. We can do this. There is something about SUNY New Paltz that will continue to attract students. Our job is to make sure that this institution is here and thriving to deliver on that promise. As I mentioned earlier, fiscal, including affordability and accountability, will be words and mantras that you hear throughout the year. The role of federal and state investments, the ways institutions are expected to cover gaps once filled by state funding, and streams present an uphill battle for higher education, and certainly SUNY New Paltz. There is no way to sugarcoat this. The fact that funds from federal and state sources are shrinking as expenses rise is an equation to an unhappy relationship. This is not new in SUNY. The SUNY budget once financed campuses, or the state budget, at 70%. We now fund the campuses at about 30%. Our campus model for survival has to shift with that growing gap between what is state funded and what we have to create through our own ingenuity. That is the bottom line. And we have to be creative, and we have to be austere, and we have to be innovative, and we have to be accountable. Keeping pace with rising costs, shifts in funding models, and measures of accountability are passed on to the campuses and are and will be used to assess viability of individual institutions and the higher ed enterprise writ large. This reality demands that institutions take critical assessment of their current resources and capacities to manage growth and sustainability. SUNY New Paltz has in many ways been fortunate, as I said, over the past 10 to 15 years, and its resources have not been depleted. And it has been able to provide, as noted, numerous benefits to students, faculty, staff, and community. That stated, given current policy trends and future changes in educational policies and directive, past success cannot guarantee future success. It feels a bit like a cliche when I say it, but we have entered uncharted waters. There is no playbook that I or likely any academic leader has that will guarantee success today. This is a period where we must use all of our historical knowledge and wisdom, current data, and skillfulness to shape the next steps. When we look to areas of material and physical plant, I already mentioned the 3 major projects, maintenance, upkeep, replacements, and deferred maintenance on aging and outdated infrastructure. I'm looking at our building, Scott. Infrastructure in the context of rapidly escalating costs for supplies and labor are going to deplete resources on campuses across the country. We have to figure out how to maintain infrastructure, but how to use the infrastructure we have to fulfill the mission and to stay in good stead. Staying one step ahead of the next emergency is my mantra many days, right, Michelle? Using our best efforts to plan for and deliver in this dynamic space, will require much attention to the interface between physical space-place, mission, and technology. And speaking of technology, artificial intelligence, its roles in the classroom settings, operations and critical infrastructure, security risk have all increasingly become part of the steep learning curve for academic leaders and for faculty and staff as well. How might we harness the power of AI and technology to create more efficient ways of relieving certain tasks to afford greater opportunities to deploy human resources to higher order functions across the university system? That's a question. The balance of inclusivity, access, and safety on our campuses, creating these spaces and assuring our commitment to the educational success for all remain a SUNY and SUNY New Paltz priority. When I think about going after technology and AI, I think about the backbone services that I mentioned. And we talk about, sometimes people talked about them as backroom, they're backbone. Compliance, safety, operational continuity for resources, the demands for reporting are all going to hit us as new measures are expected through policy, legislative, and fiscal accountability measures. We're already working under heavy burden. Everyone in this room. I wish that I could say it's going to get lighter. We have to get smarter about how to deliver it. With regards to culture and climate, I've already said how fortunate we are to be in New York and to be working in SUNY, because we have been able to have leadership that hold to the principles. This is not an indictment period of a person or a party. I won't go there. It is an assessment of the implications and impacts of policies and practices on what we do. I will remain optimistic, even in tough times, that the value proposition of higher education, and specifically public higher education, is real and likely has never been needed more than it is right now. Our coming years and the work ahead is going to be rewarding, but it won't be without sweat. In each of the areas, we must incorporate institutionally integrated data-informed practices that allow us to build stronger, more predictable methods and to understand the relationships between our activities and the outcomes we hope to achieve. In these data-informed approaches, we want to ensure that decisions are not driven by the data, but informed decisions that we make with the goal of creating greater individual and institutional knowledge. Our operational stability, the things that I've talked about before that are 27, 365-day-a-year activities, have to be balanced, and we must reach that fiscal outcome of a balanced budget by 28-29. Hard stop. That's it. We have to do it. Now, as I think about how we're going to do it, the provost has already started last year a review of academic programs, not for the purposes of eliminating programs, but for culling out of the program where our greatest efficiency opportunities exist. And I've been following that process closely and have heard from the provost, and I haven't seen the actual documents, but the provost is identifying areas where we can continue to invest in faculty and staff. I know that there are a number of department chairs who went to ASCU's training last year. The provost is looking for additional opportunities to make sure that we're bringing the resources to bear to assure that our faculty particularly are able to access the best of contemporary practices and knowledges. Our energies across functional areas must focus on 4 milestones in the academic trajectory of our students. And I mentioned these earlier, but they're worth restating. Engagement and enrollment, so keeping the funnel open. Retention by Graduation, we've probably lost 25% of the entering class, so we're at about an overall, at the end, about a 73, 75 at best retention rate. What would happen if we got that to 80% at graduation or 83% at graduation? Not losing students is critical. Persistence, meaning movement to degree completion, is central because you can't just compile credits and not move towards your degree. So the ways in which we track that and monitor it are going to become increasingly important, especially as we've listened to the news about capping loans and we look to funders who are expecting progress to degree and even questioning why it takes 4 years to get to that point. And a fifth and the fourth element is completion. Completion is the goal of starting. It's not just about assuming credits. It is not just about graduating with a degree. It might be a micro-credential. It might be a minor. It might be a new certificate, but completing will become an important indicator that we will be monitored on, not just by SUNY, but by any group that is looking to us to identify if we're living to our mission. And a fifth area worth consideration is our ability to elevate over time the post-completion outcomes for our graduates. We are going to have to do a better job of knowing what our alumni do and to be able to report on that. With regards to organizational efficiencies, looking at our staffing, there's two people that I want to call out right now, Erica Marks and Michelle Halstead. Both valued yes. I get the podium, you don't right now. So you'll get I knew you didn't want me to do this, but both valued leaders in development and alumni relations and finance and administration, respectively, will be stepping out of their vice presidency roles at the end. Well, Erica in September and Michelle at the end of December. We're very honored that Scott Klein, who for the last year has overseen the largest unit on campus as our Assistant Vice President for Facilities Management, will step into a newly created position at the cabinet level as Vice President for Operations, effective September 1. Thank you, Scott. In this role, Scott will continue to manage facilities, design and construction, facilities operations and maintenance, emergency management, environmental health and safety, and the Office of Campus Sustainability, while adding information technology services and campus auxiliary service to his portfolios as direct reports. Michelle's decision has provided me an opportunity to respond to the evolving needs of the institution by reorganizing one huge and diverse executive portfolio to provide greater focus on strategic alignment around critical issues related to the institution's operational effectiveness and continuity. A search for a new vice president for fiscal strategy and management, chaired by Dr. Vice President Stella Turk, is currently in process. While we will never be able to replace a Michelle Halstead, we will do our very best to find the right candidate to lead this most important strategic role. We thank Michelle for 35 years of service to SUNY New Paltz across many activities. Michelle, thank you. Erica, who is not here today, Erica Marks, Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations and Executive Director of the SUNY New Paltz Foundation, for the last 12 years has shared her plan, has shaped this division for the last 12 years. She shared her plans with me earlier this year to retire from these roles effective September 26. The success in the Office of Development and Alumni Relation during Erica's time as Vice President are too numerous to list here and have been captured eloquently in an earlier acknowledgement of her significant contributions. We are thankful to Erica's leadership. We're fortunate that Jonathan Vaughn, who currently serves as Executive Director of Development, has agreed to take on these roles of Interim Vice President for Development and Alumni Relationships. Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan will also serve as the interim executive director of the SUNY New Paltz Foundation Board. Big shoes to fill, and sometimes in heels. Barbara Caldwell, class of 22, who served as program director for donor engagement until 23, will return to New Paltz to support this transition as Vaughn's deputy. Barbara, thank you. A few more items and then we'll conclude. Our comprehensive campaign, which I said is in its silent phase, and we'll continue to keep it in its silent phase for a bit longer. It is an exciting process and one that promises to yield great benefits to SUNY New Paltz well into the future. Believe it or not, in 28-29, along with achieving a balanced budget, we'll have Middle States reaccreditation. Yep. You start laughing. Time to start getting ready. I am in the process of chairing my third consecutive Middle State site visit, in part because I wanted to be in the seat of chairing to develop allies all across the country, because we have one coming up very soon. Get ready for that one. Strategic plan implementation. Well, after a year-long effort of intense, inclusive, and very successful planning, we will have the official launch of our strategic plan here on September 25th. Please plan to join us. And then, if that's not all enough, we will have in 2028, 29, probably, I don't know if it's 27, 28, 28, 29, they're all going to be a blur with all these milestones. We have our 200th anniversary as an institution, a major landmark. We're in the early phases of planning, but this landmark will require significant attention well ahead of time. So, in closing, there's one more group writ large that I'd like to thank. I was on a journey last year. I started the semester coming out of an intense summer and spring, and I asked for volunteers, and we selected 15 people out of almost 70 to be part of the President's Listening and Learning community. It was a gift to me. For each of the individuals who agreed to do it and sat with me month after month when we had breakfast or lunch or something, it moved beyond a listening tour to a real mutual exploration amongst faculty, staff, a student, administrators, CSEA, UUP members. It's an orchestrated group. I do intend to put out a call for a class of President's Listening Learning community members for this fall. So if you're interested, please sign up. We had more applicants than we could take, but 15 is the maximum number from across divisions. I'd like to ask if there are any members of the President's Listening and Learning community in the audience. Would you please raise your hand? I know that. Yes. Thank you. So, neither a ledger or an Excel sheet can tell the full story of the value of a college education, but it is a document that is used by many to evaluate the sustainability and productivity of an academic institution. This is clear in the environment we're in today. It is simply in our best interest to refine and advance our capacity to tell the fuller value-added story based on empirical evidence and the ability to provide the contour and nuance that clearly shows how valuable a degree from SUNY New Paltz actually is for the individual, the family, the community, and beyond. As we move through this year, I anticipate the unanticipated. I expect there will be the, well, I never thought that would happen moment. But I have to balance looking for the unseeable, the unknowable, with a firm commitment anchored to steps to achieving our goals of sustainability, innovation, inclusivity, transformative educational experiences, and value within our communities. I've communicated with presidents across the country, and it is clear that regardless of the size of the institution, its endowments, its nobility, its ranking, we're all facing similar obstacles and aspirations. There is no playbook for this, in part because this is not play. This time, the stakes are so real and so daunting, we can't rely on magic. We have to dig in now. And I tell you, I've talked to presidents the whole spectrum. Not a single president is confident beyond doubt. Not a one. And you have watched the news and seen mighty folks come tumbling down real fast. We must be cautious in our efforts, yes, but we cannot become stagnated or numb to the need to move beyond our fears and grievances and to embrace the reality that change in the face of obstacles is the only path forward. It's important that we are bold and not always safe. That leadership requires teamwork. This is essential. It may not be easy, but I'm convinced the effort is worth it. I look forward to our work and achievements this year. Easy is not what I promise you. Fortitude and integrity is something we have to lean into. Hard work is essential. I learned these values many years ago, and today I have the unique honor and privilege to have in the audience one of two people who taught me that lesson from day one, my mom. And of course, I have my rock, Donovan, there, so. And now, as I conclude, let me say, it is an honor to be and remain SUNY New Paltz's 9th president. Thank you.